Welcome, yogis. In this practice, we are really going to work on our back bends. So this is a pretty intense class for spine flexibility. I'll ask that you have 2 blocks. We are going to be using them, and it probably goes without saying, but if you have any kind of injuries in your spine, like slip disc, things like that, this is probably not the best practice for you. Some of the poses can definitely be modified to stay fairly gentle, but for the most part, we're really going to work on getting deeper back bends. So spine mobility, as well as getting into the shoulders and the chest a little bit. And we are just going to get right into it with melting heart pose, or what is often called puppy pose. So starting on hands and knees, keeping your hips directly over the top of your knees. This won't move. The only thing that's going to change is you're going to walk your hands out in front of you and bring the forehead either down on a block or down towards the mat. And we're going to stay with the straight arms variation for this first one. I mean, the elbows will bend a little bit, but we're not going to do the prayer pose variation just yet. Try to keep your palms flat to the mat. And this pose is called melting heart, which completely explains what we're trying to achieve here. You're trying to soften your heart down towards the ground, relaxing the space between the shoulder blades, and just engaging a little bit through the lower belly, hugging in towards the low back. But you should feel this through the shoulders, the armpits, the chest, pectorals, and upper back as well. But a really great pose for back bends and spine flexibility. So just holding here. Let's slide forward into Sphinx pose so you can lower onto your belly. So a different kind of back bend or heart opener. Keep your forearms exactly as they are and just think of opening up through your chest and almost pulling your heart forward as you drag your forearms back behind you. Lightly squeezing your shoulder blades back. Soften your belly. And just pushing down a little bit through the pubic bone just so you can reach your tailbone towards your heels so the pelvis stays neutral. And back of the neck can stay long as well, so there's no compression here, no need to look up too high. You can keep a little tuck of the chin, just very subtle. And think of lifting up a little more. Big breath in here. And let's release down. We'll take a laying chest opener, which focuses a lot more on shoulder flexibility and kind of stretching into the chest, but definitely something that you need if you're working on back bends. So right arm can extend out to the side, bending the elbow at a 90-degree angle. You can roll onto your right hip, right shoulder, and right ear. And pushing a little bit down into your left hand, or maybe bringing your left hand towards your low back to intensify the sensation here. If you had your left hand behind your low back, bring it out in front of you once more. You can straighten your legs, roll to your belly. And we'll set up for the other side. Left arm can reach out with the elbow bent and the palm flat to the ground. Roll to left hip, left shoulder, and left ear, maybe by bending the knees as well. The right hand can either push down into the floor to help you roll even more, or you can bring your right hand to your low back. Bring your right hand back out. Roll onto your belly, straighten your legs. And we're going to press back up onto hands and knees. So we're going to repeat melting heart pose, but this time going deeper into it. And I'm going to do it with blocks. The blocks might be a little bit too much for you, so you're welcome to just do puppy pose, the melting heart pose, the same way we did, but with the elbows bent and the thumbs going towards the back of the head, or you can intensify that even more and bring the elbows on your blocks. So a much deeper back bend, the hips stay over the top of the knees. And as you soften your chest down, the forehead may or may not touch the mat. Totally normal if it doesn't. But then bending the elbows, you're going to reach your thumbs towards the back of your neck. So you should feel this a lot more into the triceps, into the shoulders, maybe even into the chest. But especially if you're working on poses where you flip your grip, like king pigeon, things like that, This is the kind of arm placement you want to work on in your puppy pose. So this one can be a little bit more awkward to come out of, but try to straighten your elbows and then use the leverage of your forearms pushing into the blocks to come out. And we're gonna slide onto our belly once more. Instead of doing Sphinx pose again, although you are welcome to just repeat Sphinx if that's more than enough for you. Instead, we're going to lift up into seal pose, so the elbows are no longer on the mat, and you're also going to have an option to go even further than this one by also integrating a quad stretch. So either holding just seal pose for a few minutes, or if you want to do your quad stretch, you can bring your left hand a little bit more towards the center of the mat just to make it easier here, and bending into the right knee. You can catch a hold of the foot and flip it in. So this will feel pretty intense, especially through the low back. You can adjust with your hand, maybe the elbow down, or you can release the back foot and not worry about that one so much. So about 1.5 minutes per side. Very carefully release the hold of your back foot. We're going to switch sides nice and slow. You can bring your right hand out in front of you, maybe a little bit more to the center as opposed to off to the side. Bend into your left knee and see if you can reach back with that left hand to pull it in, or just continue in your seal or Sphinx pose with both hands or both forearms down on the mat. We'll release fully. So our last back bending pose will be supported fish. So you might want to push back up onto hands and knees in order to place your blocks. So one block underneath the upper back, the other block underneath the back of the head at any height, which works for you. So that first one should be somewhere in between the shoulder blades. And the other one supports the neck or supports the back of the head in order to protect your neck. You can either choose to have your legs out straight in front of you, or you can keep your feet flat on the mat, or maybe take a little hip opener by letting your knees fall open. And the arms can maybe go by your sides. If you're feeling really open in your back bends, you can also extend your arms up overhead. Just notice or make sure that there's no numbing sensation in the arms. Sometimes this pinches a nerve for a lot of people and they'll kind of like lose the blood flow. So you don't want to feel any kind of tingling or anything like that. If that tends to happen, just bring your arms back down. Sometimes even just opening the arms out to the side in a cactus shape can be a really nice variation. So choosing the option that works best for you today. If you had your legs in a butterfly shape, you can lift the knees back up. And before Shavasana, we'll take a laying spinal twist. So you can move off of your blocks and set them off to the side before coming all the way back down. And it might feel good just to observe and notice the difference, letting your spine be leveled on the ground. So for laying spinal twist, you can reach your arms out to the sides, move your hips a little bit over to the right, and you can wrap your right thigh over the left one before dropping both knees to the left. So whenever I do deep back bends, I always make sure to finish with a twist. It's a great way to release any kind of pinching or tension from the low back. So try to soften in this pose here. Squeeze into the abdominals a little bit, float the legs back up, and we'll switch sides. So move your hips over to the left this time. Cross your left leg over and drop both knees over to the right. Let's make our way to Shavasana, our final resting pose. Uncrossing the legs, and you can extend the legs and the arms out, bringing the spine back to neutral, all at the same level. Just soften and release here, giving yourself these final few moments of silence and stillness. Fill up your belly and your chest with your breath. Wiggle fingers and toes, or turn your head side to side. Big stretch. And we'll roll to one side, coming up to take a seat. And feel that new length in your spine that you've created from this practice. And joining the hands at the heart and bowing forward. Namaste. Thank you so much, yogis, for doing this back bending practice with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to practice again with you soon.